I feel like for me, writer's block is extremely frustrating because I have this like neurotic obsession with constantly creating and constantly making music. In my case, I'm a music producer, right? So it's like I've been cut off from a part of myself in a way when I'm not able to create. That's often what it feels like. It sucks. um, I just want to talk about a few things that have helped me in the past with overcoming writer's block. So, yeah. The first thing, and this is like my old reliable. This is the thing that like always works for me is just make something as a joke. Like just make something that's not intended to be good. You know, I feel like this completely removes all of these expectations we place on ourselves, and it takes away expectations that you didn't even know you had. Like I have very often discovered when I would be like remixing a really bad song or something, for example, just as a joke, I would discover that I suddenly felt so much more free to just do whatever came to my mind. And you also discover that a lot of the ideas you thought were bad ideas, a lot of the ideas that you thought you were so sure couldn't possibly work, they're not as bad as you thought. Maybe they've even got some workable elements to them that you can build on later. And for me, that's been the case. You know, I feel like I've discovered some really crucial elements of my sound through just messing around and making things that were never intended to be good or never intended to be serious, but they caused me to stumble onto like new production techniques. So I think like just try to make something stupid. Like just make something that's like you don't care really if anyone thinks it's good because it wasn't supposed to be good. So another thing that I think helps is just trying new things, you know. Like something that makes a big difference for me is at the end of the day, instead of watching like a comfort movie, you know, or playing like a comfort game, try something new. Try like a new game. Try like watching a movie that I've never seen before, or go somewhere that I've never been. You know, maybe go outside a little bit. Uh, you would be surprised. Like it feels basic, right? It feels like obvious. Like oh, just try new things. But like when you're drawing on the same influences you've always drawn on, when you're drawing on the same experiences that you've always drawn on, you know, sometimes that pool just dries up. Sometimes that pool of experience is not inspiring you anymore, and you need to try something new. That actually reminds me of another thing, which is be in a new environment. I guess it falls into the same category of trying new things, but like go to a restaurant you've never been to, go to a park you haven't been to before, go to a friend's house you haven't seen in a while. You know, being in a different environment is it can often be the thing that makes the difference. And like the opposite is true too. Being in the same environment all the time is, I think, one of the most creatively constraining things you can experience. So the other thing is like sometimes the reason you're experiencing artist block is because it is time for you to take a break. Like something I've learned over the years is that creativity tends to come in, it comes in seasons. And you know, the bursts of creativity thing I think could definitely be like an ADHD related issue. But for me, it's been very important to learn to appreciate those periods of creative dormancy because they are just as vital to the creative process as the periods where you're actively creating. It just doesn't feel like it. It just doesn't feel like it because you're not making anything. But those are the periods where you take in the world around you for inspiration, you know? So I think if you're experiencing, you know, one of those creative droughts, it might be worthwhile to ask yourself if this really is just a period where you need to sort of recharge your creative batteries, because those periods are just as important. The last thing I want to mention is sometimes trying a new medium that you're not used to can be the change you need, you know? Like, so for me, for example, about a month ago, I decided to start experimenting with audio-visual stuff. I wanted to incorporate some audio-visual elements into my music, and I still plan to do that. Um, but I decided to, every day for the month, practice with this software called Touch Designer. Um, and I actually ended up not making it all the way through the month because I was kind of burnt out because of college and work and stuff like that. But I did learn a lot about this software, and the interesting thing that I found that would happen is I would get into these like creative feedback loops where I would make something in Touch Designer that inspired me to make some kind of music, and then the music would inspire me to have you know, some ideas for like visuals that I can make in Touch Designer. And that is such a cool experience to get into these like feedback loops where one piece of work you're working on is inspiring the other. So I think getting into a new medium, or, you know, working with a piece of software you're not used to, if what you do is digital art, I think it can disorient you enough to get you to start thinking creatively again. So that's definitely helped me out a lot with, you know, getting myself to start thinking creatively again. So I hope something in this was helpful for you, and I hope you have a nice day. Thank you. Bye bye.